Now, this new 5% Mexico tariff and the increased tariffs on China could directly affect retail prices on everyday items like jeans, cars, and sneakers. And joining us to discuss more is the president of the American Apparel and Footwear Association, Rick Helfenbein. Hi, Rick.
How are you?
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we had the Yankee-Red Sox game get rained out last night, and I thought that was the beginning of a bad night, and then President Trump tweeted.
It was a sign of things to come.
Yeah, it was for sure a sign of things to come. You know, I'm surprised, actually, that the stock market is being relatively calm today in its down mode, because, you know, think about the numbers. Two-way trade with Mexico, $1.8 billion a day, $75 million an hour, and then you start taxing that, and then they retaliate. You know, essentially, that's enough to blow up the economy. Mexico, for real, is our number 2 export partner, number 3 trading partner in the world. So this is, as Senator Grassley said, not an appropriate use of the tariff power.
Well, what's the direct impact, though, when we talk about footwear and apparel? You're already getting squeezed on one end because of the tariffs on the Chinese goods, or the retaliatory tariffs coming from China. You could argue it's coming on both ends for you. What does this additional 5%, if nothing happens between now and June 10th, mean for you?
Well, you have to look at market share. China has a 41% market share on apparel. Mexico has an 8% market share of the U.S. market on apparel. So, you know, what we're trying to do as a group is reduce our exposure to China. So one of the logical places to go is Mexico. So we're hitting roadblocks in every direction. And, you know, what's it going to do? You know, we have these what we call tranches of tariffs. The third tranche actually 25% kicks in tomorrow, and you know, I mentioned Boston Yankees.
We're talking about the retaliatory tariffs from the Chinese side.
Yeah, well, you're going to get that too. That's another 60 billion. You know, this is becoming like a game of Monopoly. The baseball analogy: baseball gloves are going to be tariffed at 25%. Right. So if you didn't buy your $150 baseball glove, maybe by Saturday it'll be $200. This is not fun. It's not right. It's damaging to our industry. We're running out of places to buy goods, and then the president would like to say, "Bring it home." Mm-hmm. So bring it home is 3% of the market. We don't have the capacity.
So I was reading a little bit of your notes a little bit earlier, and you said, because we've just talked, right, about the hit to consumers, right? But I also read that you said, look, jobs are going to be lost, right? So I'm wondering if you had to put a number on it. I don't know if you have one as yet, but how much of a hit is this industry going to take?
Well, the consumer is 2/3 of our economy. 10% of the jobs are in retail. So it's a very simple equation. As prices go up, sales go down, jobs get lost. It's that simple. You don't have to say it any other way. And you know, we've been able to finesse so far. We've been able to get by with the 10%. As the 25% kicks in, as the $300 billion from China, and now this mess with Mexico, we're running out of alternatives.
Rick, even before the news today about Mexico, with everything going on with China, we've known that the sneaker industry has been particularly vulnerable, and then within that, Nike, especially vulnerable to the issues with China. You know, when we talk about the companies overall, the U.S. companies that are really vulnerable to all this, it's Nike, Apple comes up a lot, some of those retailers. Are there companies within your industry, and maybe Nike is one of them, maybe Adidas, even though it's based in Germany, that have been working especially closely with you or with officials to try and spur change? Are there any companies that have been leaders in this effort?
There are many companies that are making their voice heard in Washington. The problem is we're a recipient. You know, we would love the president to be helping us. Instead, this action seems to be working against us. And, you know, this is our livelihood. This is how we make a living. And we're being thwarted in that prospect. And the best way to gauge it, you make a very good point. You know, there's this ETF, the XRT index, which looks at retail. It's below the point it was at December 31st, as of yesterday, before Mexico was announced. So you can see the world of retail is, shall we say, unhappy.
You know, when you look at the overarching argument, because it's so easy to kind of go back and forth on the numbers, but the president all along has said, this is all a way to bring jobs back to America. And so if we're talking about a company like Nike, some of these major retailers, what have they done in response to this? And at what point do they start switching up their supply chains from China? Now, Mexico may not be an option. Is it coming back to the U.S. at all?
Unfortunately, we don't have the capacity to bring it back to America. It is growing in America.
It would make it too expensive, bottom line.
Well, you can put the expense aside. If the expense was not an issue, we still couldn't do it. We
Logistics.
don't have the capacity. And the 5 footwear groups joined together. We signed a letter recently, amazing, saying very, very clearly, you're not helping domestic manufacturing, you're not helping imported footwear, because a lot of the components we use in domestic manufacturing are imported. Mm-hmm. So this is a no-win situation. There is no way we can survive this, and I hope the president has made his statement, and I hope that there will be some way to adjust this appropriately, because this isn't going to work with Mexico, and frankly, it's not going to work with China either, because we're entrenched in China. 41% of apparel comes from China. 72% of footwear comes from China.
Pretty stark numbers.
Where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? Everyone says, okay, you'll just pick up and go to Vietnam. The population of China, 1.35 billion people. The population of Vietnam, 95 million people. That's called 20 pounds in a 5-pound sack. It doesn't fit. Prices are going to go up. Sales are going to drop. Jobs are going to get lost. This is not a pretty situation.
All right, really good chat and really strong, unsubtle terms. I really appreciate it, Rick. Good stuff.
And I wish the game hadn't been rated out last night. What can I say?
Well, go Red Sox. Thanks, Rick.
Okay.